And welcome, KCIW listeners of 100.7 at kciw.org, Brookings, Oregon, the beautiful Brookings. And, of course, we're syndicated down with KZZH 96.7 FM, Access Humboldt, Eureka, California. Glad you're all here. This is Joyously Free with me, none better than best-selling author Joanie Lindenmeyer. I'm so glad you are tuning in. I'm a 34-year resident of Harbor, Oregon, a retired Del Norte High School teacher in Crescent City, and a 2025 Lambda-nominated author who's written 3 books in 2 years. Woohoo! I love life, and I love being the producer and host of this show. It's my memoir, None Better, that led to this show, because this is where I actually did an audiobook for it. I'm so glad you are here with us today. As in every morning radio show, we begin with a salutation, because it truly is. It's a brand new day. And if you could please respond with, never been lived before. Mantras are a good way to start the day, so here we go. It's a brand new day. Never been lived before. Yahoo, we got this. So this Radio Gadio show, as Will and Viv named it, is a show that talks about LGBTQ plus stories and tips, along with church, religion, faith, spirituality, and joy. Hence, we call this Joyously Freedom, because it's about freedom and joy. That's the bottom line. It's from my book, second book, with twosisterswriting.com, Elizabeth Ann Atkins. In this radio broadcast, just like in life, it is so important to not have hate speech, no hate behaviors, and no bullying. Let's make our world happier, healthier, and more harmonious. We do that with the 3 C's: courage, confidence, and collaboration. It's together that we seek understanding. Together, we can think out of the boxes, or no boxes at all. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. The guest speaker today will be here in just a second or two, but we need to do a little prayer first. We've had the speaker before, and I know this person is also very spiritual. So let's join our hearts, asking our Creator to shine light on our community and our world, our towns, our families. Let's believe in hope. Let's believe in the power of the divine, and that Jesus, God, whatever name you put on a higher being, is always with me and with you. So let's not be afraid or troubled. Let's not be saddened or depressed. Let's find that joy and peace that are internal expressions of love and harmony. It's already within us. All we have to do is reach in there and grab it. Let's center ourselves. Let's take a big, deep breath in with the good and out with doubt. Let's breathe in through your nose with hope and confidence, and out with any fears or anxiety. Last one. Take a big, deep breath in. Oh, all the goodness, all the joys, and out with anything bugging you today. In the name of Mother Earth, God our Creator, Jesus our Redeemer, and our Holy Spirit, we say hi. Hi, Spirit. Hi, God. Hi, Jesus. Thank you for being with us today. Well, I think you're going to like this one, everybody. My quote for the day is, "Forgive your enemies. It messes with their heads." I'm going to repeat that. Forgive your enemies. It messes with their heads. I was reading scripture the other day from Luke, and it talked about do not judge, do not condemn, stop that judgment, stop that condemnation, but forgive, have mercy. And so when this quote came to be, forgive your enemies, it messes with their heads, I love that, because oftentimes we can be coming from a spiritual part as well as our human part. We can absolutely forgive somebody or an institution or an organization. We can forgive them so deeply that it truly is peaceful for us that forgive, and for them, it blows them out of the water. It literally blows them out of the water that we can be so kind and so peaceful about it. So, you know what? Maybe there's somebody today that you need to say, I'm sorry to. Maybe there's an institution or an organization that you need to let it go. Let it go. It doesn't mean that you don't remember that, but you let it go. Get rid of that ugliness. Forgive your enemies. Oh, that's my reflection today. And so with that, let's lift up our friends and our family, places where we work, the people we work with, the people within our community. Let's thank God for guiding us and healing us, for listening to us, for blessing us to do a bigger will, a creator God will. We ask all of this in the Lord's name. Amen. So here we are again. Last time, we've had this gentleman before on our show and just a wealth of knowledge and information. I want to thank you, the listeners, for being here because we have with us again a wonderful clinical social worker, therapist, counselor, Patrick Quivey. Patrick, thank you for being here. Oh, Patrick's waving to me across the table. And Patrick, today we've dealt with so many things with trauma and identity. This will be our last session, and I'm so grateful for the previous ones. But today is about healing from within. Hopefully you're going to be able to give us some tips on how each of us can heal from within from the traumas and the identities that we've struggled with. Does that sound good today, Patrick?
It sounds like a huge laundry list. Let's try to knock a couple pieces off of that.
That sounds good to me. Thank you. And thank you for being here. Your eyes are sparkling. You're looking fantastic. And let's just go for it here.
I've always looked good on radio. Thank you.
And you brought in a picture today, a photograph, an artwork piece, and talk about looking good. I love this. And are you going to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think
it'd be a great way to kick it off.
I think I shall now.
Okay. Oh my gosh. 6 out of 20. It's a personally drawn picture.
It's a lithograph, probably done about 50 years ago, and I found it in my late father's effects after he passed away. So I had no idea how he got it, except that maybe he might have known the artist. And it's called Angels Caught in a Staircase. And you can see a round staircase, circular staircase, an angel asleep near the top. At the bottom is a harp. And out through the hallway with many doors on each side is a light out onto the outside world. And I looked at that and I said, holy smokes, that's people. That's our internal world. And I had been there for maybe 100 times before with other people, and they had been detailing their own work through their own trauma. And, we talked about before, sometimes there are parts of ourselves that get walled off. And there are lots of ways of describing how it is that the brain is affected. We have this entire system called the limbic circle, which pays attention. It's the hippocampus, which does learning and memory, and the amygdala, and all of these neurological kinds of frameworks that, your doctor could probably describe it better. You can go look at it. But let's look at the landscape of what we have to go through in negotiating all these traumatic injuries to the brain, because it is to the brain, how it gets circumspect and held back, shrunk, so to speak, and how the mind creates a landscape of its own internally to both protect it and also that restricts us. So this picture mirrors what a lot of people have shown me when they begin to describe either in literal ways or in more allusion to it, how they have the feeling of the different parts of themselves. And, we know that part of developing an identity is that we are able to integrate and to synthesize different feelings that, the emotions that are warring within us. We love, we hate, we have interest, we have boredom, we have all these compendium of feelings. And one of the things that the limbic circle does, which is this combination of the hippocampus and learning and apparatus, is it tends to condition and temper the different feelings. For instance, you could say something to me that I might find disgusting, but I like you. And I'm going to hold that and say, well, I'll temper that because I want to keep the relationship, no matter if you like sardines or not, and I can't stand them. Actually, I'm mirroring my wife's relationship with me. I like sardines. She can't stand them, but she likes me. It's a truce. So when we have trauma, we must take in the information because it's arresting. The parts of our brain that does the learning needs to put it someplace. And you could call it the learning circle, but the limbic circle has a way of being activated with certain kinds of stimuli for certain kinds of events, certain pieces of learning that are
Can you give an example? Can you give an example of that?
If I see something that's threatening, I will feel fear. And fear is a lot like courage. Courage is motivated by a sense of connection and loyalty. Okay, I'm going to do something for you, come hell or high water. So the tempering back and forth between isolation with fear, courage with social connection, this is how the limbic circle works. Now, sometimes with trauma, some of these events are so overwhelming that we isolate it, and it gets what we call a feedback system. And the trauma becomes isolated, and it does not get synthesized or integrated with the rest of the feelings. So you have people, for instance, who become
So is it like a denial, like a repression?
It is like a repression, yeah. It's where
It's a scapegoat.
people are not able to fully temper those feelings, so they become isolated and they become stronger and stronger. So you get sociopaths, for instance, who don't temper their feelings of connection with others. They're totally isolated. Mm-hmm. You get people who, let's say neo-Nazis, they inhabit the attention of hate because it connects them. So we use attention, we use emotions, and all around this limbic circle of love and hate and attraction and disgust. We use that whole palette of information, of feelings, in order to pay attention with. Without emotion, there is no feeling. So therefore, in order not to be zombies, we must create a feeling in order to attend to any situation.
Oh, I so get that. My EQ is higher than my IQ, is what I said. My emotional quotient is like triple that of my IQ. But it's to me, it's so relational, because if we don't have relationships with people, then those feelings get, I don't know where they go, but they're not a part of me.
Right.
And you talk about hate. There is so much hate going on right now with the LGBTQ world, especially with the trans. There's hundreds of legislations that are up that are trying to make people invisible. Do you want to jump in there and talk about that? That's the reality of today, Patrick.
Don't know is that they're creating more attention to it, to the point where there will be a break in a piece in the fulcrum where it switches balance and they go, oh, these are our children.
Right.
And there's the oh no that becomes before the aha. Mm-hmm. And the aha is coming. Mm-hmm. And where society will wake up and go like, the Germans after World War II said, we did that? Mm-hmm. We've been doing this? Mm-hmm. We've been scapegoating. We've been paying so much attention.
Yeah.
And maybe we do love them. Now, that may seem like a bit of denial and wishful thinking, but if you look at the trajectory of how new ideas come forward, it's after the old ones wear out.
I wish some of those old ideas would wear out faster.
Well,
let me tell you.
They keep pounding them harder and harder to make them work until they find out that it doesn't. Well, that's something.
Right.
So there was...
Can I bring up a point with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the LGBTQ world, Patrick, and I'm a lesbian and I've been out for a long time, but the other day I was talking with a person and they said, Joanie, I finally understand. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, my granddaughter came out to her mother saying that she was a lesbian. She goes, it's in my family now. I get it. That
Right.
love has to continue. Before that, it was anti-LGBTQ. It was hate. It was just ugly stuff. And now that a family member has come out, the family is riling around, I don't know if that's even the word, supporting this granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I love the word. Let's use it. It's somewhere between roiling and riled up. Yeah, we are energized.
Yes.
And the energy of attention requires an emotion. The emotion was preset. I love my family. This is not my family's behavior, but I love my family. It is my family's behavior. I love this behavior.
Yeah.
So...
And that's healing from within the family, correct?
Mm-hmm. So in this compilation of different emotions that the brain uses to pay attention with, we can look back a few thousand years and understand that the cognitive style of thinking, the syllogisms of this versus that comparison, probably wasn't in existence until a few thousand years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some anthropologists, I've mentioned this before, Julian Jaynes, a famous writer, talked about how the left side of the brain didn't really know what the right side was talking about. And it works well for us because it allows us to do evaluative thinking. But when this was coming about, when people started writing, for instance, and able to put their own thoughts on paper or carve it into stone and say, oh, well, that is me there. Suddenly, there is me. Before that, people heard voices. It was common. And if you look at trauma, and I was just talking with somebody before this, it often embodies a way of looking at information saying, I can't believe what I am seeing. So part of us believes it and part of us doesn't. Part of us can absorb it and part of us cannot. And part of us talks to the other. And we have this assemblage of different emotions that can talk amongst themselves. When the politics of the situation require that you be unaware, that we close off our awareness. We were talking just before the session about the great national tragedy, the assassination of JFK. All of us wanted to not be aware. None of us could resolve it. Then we start pushing it to the side. So 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, we had the breakdown of society in the Mediterranean world, the cradle of civilization, where people started thinking for themselves. People started saying, maybe that's not the gods talking. You had people like Ulysses who defied the gods. Ulysses was known, or Odysseus, was known as a liar. Mm-hmm. In other words, he was able to hold his cards back and not tell the gods everything. Mm-hmm. He had the development of consciousness, the part of us that says, I'm going to hold my cards to myself and think about this. Before that, there was this great over-honesty of saying, I am what I am, I feel what I feel, and it's not me, it's my voice is talking. So around close to 500 BC, Socrates, Plato, his follower, wrote down a allegory, and it was called the allegory of a cave. You may have heard this because it just shows up in our culture, and it was in the middle of a book called The Republic, which was a training manual for the development of leadership within this cadre of the elevated society of the Greeks. And dropped in the middle of this book is this about how to be a man, how to be a leader, how to be thinking, and all this, is this strange little cave allegory. And he talked about people stuck there as if chained inside of a cave, watching shadows on a wall, shown to them through firelight by other people holding up shadow images. And they would talk, well, is that a horse or is that a cow? And they would argue. And then Plato began to describe and said, if you drag these people out, bring them up and out into the sunlight, it will hurt their eyes. And they won't believe what's out there. And if they go back into the cave, they will talk, and their fellow prisoners will argue with them and maybe even hurt them or kill them to say that can't possibly be the truth. This is the truth on the wall.
What an allegory for now. How many people are in a cave?
Yes, and so over time, since we've had this running development of, is this the whole world he's talking about at that, or do we even have individual selves? And that's a more modern development. The question has usually been templated as, is this us as individuals trying to get out of our own darkness? However, if you look at the description of the cave and the neurological changes that go in the knowledge, the affective burden of the feelings of fear and anger that are wrestling within, it's actually call it a 5th century BC neurological map of trauma. And like the picture I was describing, it matches with Freud's topographical map of the id, or this deeply ingrained part of ourselves, the ego, the sense of self-control, and the superego, the sense of social order. It's topographical, it's spatial. And one of the things we're talking about in terms of recovery from trauma is being able to resolve the inner fight. Now, this guy was made to commit suicide, Socrates, for talking about the gods as if they weren't there. He was undoing the trauma encoding. He was saying, we can fix this. And society was saying, no, you don't. And so they made him commit suicide. I was going to sing a song about that today, but I just thought it was inappropriate.
So you really think people make people commit suicide, or do you think it's an internal, crash and clash internally that then leads to suicide?
You might call it murder within.
Murder within.
Because
there you go.
Sometimes they don't even recognize that if they kill the victim, the one that bears all of the pain, that it will kill themselves as well.
And I'd had numerous friends commit suicide, and we're talking different ages, from teenagers up to 70s.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're going to wind down with time, like never have enough time with you.
Never do.
You talk about fear, you talk about courage, you talk about bravery, you talk about hate, you talk about all this internal stuff. What are some tips that you can give the listeners right now? Like maybe a couple bullet points of how to deal with that.
Whether it's something you hear or feel strong, whether it's a shouting or just this nagging sense of doubt, listen to it.
There's number one, listen to it.
Don't push it away. Let it come out of the cave. And when it does, it will feel very odd. Make it your own and parent it.
And what do you mean by parent it?
I had a client who had a part of herself that was like 6 years old. And all the awe and wonder and joy of life had been squashed. It started coming back. It started coming back while she was working her 10-key adding machine as an accountant. And it couldn't do the accounting. And I said, just let it sit there and observe. And slowly it will become a part of you.
I love it.
And we sometimes are going around the world, as our daily world, as if we're watching something. Okay. So what Plato was talking about there was, and he mapped it out, looking at things at night, sort of from a little bit of a distance, slowly incorporating the feelings in and introducing them, as if you were taking your inner child and walking around the block with them and pointing things out for the first time.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Listen. Okay, we're going to down to 15 seconds here. So we have listen to it, let it out of the cave.
Mm-hmm. And
last little comment. What's your last one?
Those feelings that you're pushing away are the feelings that want to be resolved.
There you go. There you go. And that's once you resolve it, you find, to me, the joyously free moment of you being the best person you can be. Oh my gosh, can you believe this? This has gone by so fast. Once again, Patrick, I hope that you have at least put some of your oodles of information out to all of us. We here at the beautiful listeners on the gorgeous coast of Southern Oregon, Northern California, we want to thank you for being with us. Thank you for inspiring us, giving us ways to look at things historically as well as currently. We love the stories, the tips, and the hopes that you've given to us. It's been phenomenal, Patrick. It really has. It's like, oh my gosh, my brain is just going. High fives, high tens to you, Patrick, for being an incredible guest speaker. Mike, thank you for being on the sound. Tom Bozak, Candace and Rose at KCIW, we thank you so much for making this all happen. KZZH, Access Humboldt, we thank you for being around and making this happen in your area, Humboldt that is. We want to also thank all the people that contribute and sponsor and make KCIW a community radio show. We want to give high accolades to the Rainbow Connection, Troy, and you can hear him Fridays at 3 o'clock. If you're interested in knowing me, remember, I'm around town, have smiles that are big, 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 and wear bright colors. Happy day, everybody. Bye.